Hello, I guess we are live. Can you confirm if I'm audible? Hi, everyone. Yes, we are. Yes, okay. Thank you. So, what we have discussed in the last live session, I believe we were discussing about APIs, state management, and components, performance optimization, front-end system design, right? And in this session, we are going to understand a little bit of testing, that actually testing in front end, how you can test your route actually if there is a route that, let's suppose we are doing writing any function. What actually component is, in my opinion, whenever you are writing any React component, whenever you are writing a React function, you will be thinking, "Hey, what is a React component?" It's actually a function which is returning me something, isn't it? Simple thing. Whenever I am writing any function, if I'm exporting it, and it can work like a component in React, right? So if I am writing, right, and if you are directly writing any function or expecting it to work in the same manner that you thought of, and it will be like a imagination. So whenever in industry as well, whenever we use to write any function, any functionality, it passes through multiple, you can say, units in order to get to the production line, right? First, let's suppose I am working on GFG Connect. Let's suppose I will first write my code, right? I will push it to GitHub. It will be build first, then it will be test. But in testing environment, what actually happens? This is a pipeline. There are units testing, there are integration testing, there are UI testing, there are end-to-end testing. There are few type of testing that happens before your code actually gets into deployment or production environment. Why actually we do this? A simple reasoning to it is, we don't want to take a risk. If I'm writing a function, let's suppose if I'm having a function which can do a plus b, right? A simple a plus b, and that I expect whenever somebody is passing value of a as 2 and value of b as 2, so what I'm expecting the answer should be 4. But the problem is, will this function returns me 2 plus 2 is equal to 4 or not? And you are heavily relying on assumption, because you are writing that type of function for so long, so you are confident that particular function will work. But the problem is, can you do the same kind of trust, can you put the same kind of you can say fundamentally trust in that application or in that function, when this function will be rolled out as a production, you can say functionality, it will work the same manner that it was working in your domain. That's why they are saying na कि मेरे लोकल उसमें तो काम कर रहा था, पता नहीं बाहर क्यों काम नहीं कर रहा है. That's a simple reason to it. कि if you are saying कि this was working in your domain and it is not working in real time environment, that has to be tested before. So actually, before you jump onto how actually your project or your folder structure or your API structure has to be there, first need to discuss a little bit of testing into it. So let's understand first. Let me just drop my screen off and you tell me when screen is available. भैया बीटेक में कुछ खास नहीं किया, टीयर 1 कॉलेज से हूँ, क्या करूँ? What you which was your expertise? That means area of domain, CSE or some other domain you were working with? Okay, let's try to understand you can say basic of testing, then I will code a little bit for you in order to get you the understanding that what actually testing looks like in real time. Let's suppose I'm having a function. Let's suppose I am writing a function which takes a and b, okay, and it is returning me, or it is, let's suppose, printing me a plus b. Simple function. I am not writing anything you can say out of the blue for you, because I am considering that you guys are beginner for now. And let's suppose this is a function that I have written, and I'm very confident that whenever I am running this particular function, by calling this function as, let's suppose, function and 2 comma 3, and I am very confident that this will return me the output as 5. Simple, isn't it? And looking at the code, you can directly say, sir, there cannot be any mishappening or misconception into this. It will not return 5. If you have done A plus B, it has to return 5. The problem is, problem name is IOC. Okay, whenever you have making any application, you are making any kind of functionality, IOC can exist. And the student who does understand IOC will get me that inversion of control is a very big problem, right? Whenever I teach my student in trainings, I do introduce them with callback hell and IOC. Okay, whenever IOC is there, what actually, how many of you are very comfortable with IOC? Do you guys know what is IOC, inversion of control? Anyone have idea about IOC? I'll consider that you are having no idea about IOC. So what actually IOC is? Okay, Akansha saying she is having idea about IOC. Okay, that's good. So if I'm saying ki IOC means ki I am saying ki let's suppose there is a API call that I am making on front end using a 10 stack query, or let's suppose a use query hook. That's a 10 stack query that we discussed. Use query, I am making a API call, simple, and that API call has to be there in JSON format. Let's suppose I'm converting that into JSON and I am filtering it. Okay, and after filtering, I am making a list of the users as a UI. Simple. That's what I am achieving from it. So problem is कि API is separate functionality. Your response.json is a separate functionality. Filtering is one other functionality, and your last functionality is to print that particular data. But problem is कि whenever this hierarchy would work, first API has to be called, then your JSON response need to be converted, and after that your filtering should be done, and list has to be running after each and every step is completed. Now, after that, whenever, if I'm saying that particular API that has a responsibility to invoke itself for the first time and give me a data that I can use to convert into JSON. After that, after JSON has finished their job, I will be filtering that data. And after the filtering is done, I will be printing that data. That means these are four functions that are relying on each other. At least these three functions are relying on one thing that is known as API. And this is also known as root function. Okay, simple. This is known as root function. And this particular root function will decide whether these number of functionality will run or not. How it will decide this functionality will run or not? By obvious method. If the API is not returning me the response that it should, okay, because this is the main function of the root function that will start the working of a chain. If once the API is being hit and the response is there, I will convert that response into JSON. But what if the API never returns me any response? That means whatever the control I was providing to this function or providing to this API, this function will run and it will give me a tons of data that I will convert into JSON. But the problem is that function never ran, or this function was, you can say, technically having some fault. This was not able to return me the output. That means the remaining of the functionality will be dumped, and that is the problem that is known as when root function defies the role, or root function does not, or you can say, are not able to fulfill the, you can say, role that it was assigned to. That problem is known as IOC, inversion of control. Whatever the control I was giving to this particular function has been reversed. Okay, in this kind of scenario, you cannot put blind trust into any of the functionality while in the development. Noob developer Kamakhya this side. Hi Kamakhya, how are you? So what I was saying, in this particular phenomena, what if I try to test my application? And what actually is testing? Testing, I'll just give you a pyramid of testing, a basic pyramid of testing. Testing is simple: expectation versus reality. Testing is nothing. in front end, in back end, or in general JavaScript, because I do talk about general testing in JavaScript. Whenever you are having any testing, what actually testing means? Testing means the interview. Testing means a real-time scenario, you can say demonstration. What is your role? Let's suppose if I'm hiring let's suppose a front-end developer. What is expectation from the front-end developer? He is very comfortable with React or front-end design. He is able to give me some machine coding round output very good. So he is able to design some functionality for me. And I will compare that requirement. What is the reality? I will give them a question. Let's suppose I'm giving make me an accordion in React. This is a expectation. Whenever a front-end developer will receive this question, he or she will be able to design that accordion for me. But the reality might be different. Reality, there might be scenario I'm having a test case. Let's suppose I will give an accordion and this student will give me accordion proper. That means test case pass, yani ki requirement fulfilled. And if this particular thing or person is not able to give me the answer of the accordion, that means that particular thing has failed. That means I was having some expectation from that particular user and the reality was different. That is known as IOC. Simple. I was expecting something from that user and that user was not able to fulfill that particular thing. Now, same goes with any function. What actually we do? We write a function. We side by side, we also write a test case of the function. That is known as requirement or expectation of the function. Let's suppose it's a function is a plus b, so I can write the expectation for it. I am expecting when I'll pass 2 3, the answer should be or expectation should be result will be 5. That's a test case actually. And whenever, rather than running this file directly in the production, before pushing it to the production, I can run this test case directly. And whenever I try to write these number of individual test case, this is known as unit testing. Okay, this is known as unit testing. And there's a pyramid that we do. First, let's suppose if I'm having that unit testing, in the basic, we can have like this. Let's suppose if I'm having very basic, that is a unit testing. Okay, after that, we can have a integration testing. What do you mean by integration testing? Let's suppose I'm having a component. Let's suppose I'm having a route, which will, let's suppose it's a api.get, api.get. And whenever I'll hit on the slash home page, I want to see the output as hello world. Simple. I want to see output as hello world. That means, but as your component will run, your component will directly not give you the output. It will go through a process. What are the process? First, you will hit that particular route that is known as a router. You will hit that particular route. Then router will transfer your request to your middleware. That is your hook might be. Okay. Or in backend, it can be a middleware, right? After that, middleware will be passing the access to controller, that is logic, where your logic is written, and controller will return you the output. Simple. That is a basic requirement that I have. And whenever I want to test, the moment I click on this app.get slash homepage, the whole chain of functions should run exactly the way I was expecting. That means the moment I hit on this router should transfer the request to middleware. Middleware should transfer this logic to controller. Okay. And controller should be giving me the output. That means the whole chain has to work in a proper manner. That means first, second, third, and fourth. All four functionality need to work in the same manner that I am expecting in order to give me output. That is known as integration testing. Okay. And after that, whenever this particular thing can be done using a developer side, that is a dev side, integration testing, UI testing, and unit testing can be done using a dev side. But whenever it comes to E2E testing, what do you mean by E2E testing? E2E means end-to-end testing. In end-to-end testing, what do I consider? I consider myself as a user. Okay, now integration testing has been done, unit testing has been done, and product has rolled out, right? And we will consider ourselves as a user, and I will use that particular functionality as a product, and I will notice how actually it should work from a user, you can say, point of view, and how actually it is behaving. Again, the expectation versus reality, right? In integration testing, we test multiple module one. Yes, we can test multiple. That's not as describe. We can describe multiple test cases at once, and we will be able to run multiple test cases. Okay. Now let's try to understand. We'll be trying to understand two testing: unit testing and integration testing. Okay, I'll give you idea about both testing a little bit, and why unit testing can be done using vanilla JS, that is your pure JavaScript, and it can also be done using some of the libraries. Right, there are tons of library that is available to test your APIs, to test your systems, to test your functions. But for now, let's discuss. For unit testing, we can use the one of the coolest libraries, you can say famous libraries, Jest. Okay. For integration testing, we can use Supertest. Okay. And there are few more library that we can use. You can use Cypress, you can use Karma. There are few library that we can utilize in order to test our application. But again, the rule is pretty much simple. If whenever you are having any function, you need to define the expectation from that function. Simple. That's how real life is also working. Our parents used to have expectation ki when this child will be growing older, he will become engineer or doctor or something like that. And the moment we grow up to that particular age and we become something else, or we become what they wanted or what us you wanted to become, and that is expectation versus reality. If you wanted to be a doctor and you become a doctor, that means you are passing that test case, otherwise you are failing that test case. That's a simple reality versus expectation. And whenever you are having this particular thing, you do not tend to fail your system in production. That means whenever you are testing your application before deploying this, you will not be able to, you will not be worrying about failing your production or failing your build into deployment environment. Rather than you will be testing this particular thing beforehand, right? Now let's try to understand that how actually testing before you actually come to a point how project should be, you can say, describe or structure. Okay, let me just drop this screen up and let's open the VS Code. Okay, able to see my screen, I believe. Okay, my screen is available. Now let's try to understand that what is testing and how actually we can do a testing. So I have a folder with me, okay, that's having a Node.js installed working, and I'm having an app.js file, and I'm having a server.js file. Simple. Let's suppose before you move to super test or something like that, let's try to have a simple functionality testing, that is a jest. Let's suppose I'm writing a function, this function export default function. Let's suppose I'm writing a function named sum and I'm receiving a and b, and this function can return me simple a plus b. What actually I'm having a simple functionality, and this functionality is nothing but a simple function that will return me a plus b by providing the value of a and b. So you will say, sir, what actually I can do if I want to run this function sum, and if I give the value 3 comma 5, and if I try to console this particular thing, let's suppose I'm printing this console.log, and I will pass this particular thing right over here. And if I try to do this, what actually I'm expecting as an, you can say, unit. So let's run this particular program and let's see what actually it can give me. It is giving me value 8. Okay, 3 and 5 is 8. But the problem is, if I run this function for 4 and 5, 6 or 5, let's suppose, it will expected, okay, it should return me 11. But this is what actually I am knowing whether it is returning me 11 or 8 when I'm running this application. Simple. I'm not able to test this application before even we start this application. Why? Because we are trusting this function so much that this function will behave the way it should. I have written this logic right now, and I'm very confident that whenever you will be providing a value, it will return me the sum of two numbers. But what about if user is providing something else and it is not returning the value it should? So it should be tested first. Before production happens, you actually can test your application. So whenever you want to test your application, so direct without running the application or without pushing your application into production, you can test that using library name is jest. Okay, and what actually jest is a simple testing library that you can use. Let's suppose, let's create a testing tool for you. Let's app, I want to test the app dot test dot js. Simple. That means for that particular functionality, I want to write some test case. If this is my functionality, whereas app, this is my functionality app.js, and I want to write a test case for this functionality. Simple. And first of all, you don't have to run app.js for now, because app.js will be running whenever we are going to run your actual application. But I don't want to run this application. Then I will be getting to know, okay, whether this is returning me something or not. But if I want to test this particular thing before I run app.js, I can create app.test.js one file, and that will give me whatever I want to test into it. So first of all, because I'm exporting this function, first I need to import that functionality. So I'll import some from app, some from app.js. Simple. I want to have sum from app. This is an application, this is a function that I want to test. If I try to console this and I want to try sum printing, let's run this particular thing. You will say what actually it is saying. Cannot find module imported testing app. Why it is not able to find? Let's import this. Import sum from app. Perfect. Let's run this again. It is not finding module. Let's go on to testing. Okay, open integrated terminal. Node app dot test. Did you mean import app.js? Yes, I mean import app.js. Okay, simple. I got it. And now, if I try to test this application right now, what I'm expecting, whenever I give certain thing, let's suppose I want to test this application, so I will write a test case. Whenever I want to add two positive number on addition of two positive number, when I give two positive number, and what I want to run this particular functionality, this function needs to be run. Which function I'm expecting to run? I'm expecting sum to run. Sum will run. It will take a output, or let's suppose input as 5,7, not 5.7, 5,7, and that means I am executing this function right now by providing the argument as 5 and 7. And what I can expect from this functionality, that to be this particular functionality should be equal to 12. Simple. What I'm saying, I am saying whenever I want to test this particular functionality, I will provide 5 and 7 to the sum function. It should return me what? 12. And let's try this key whether this particular thing returns me 12 or not. So for that, just run npm test. You run the npm test, it will run the test case app.test.js. Simple. And it is saying test one passed, one total. That means I have written one test case over here, it is passing. That means what is it running? First test case means on addition of two positive number. That means whenever I'm providing two positive number, it is running. Let's suppose I'm writing one more test case for this function. Test on two negative number. I will run this particular functionality again. Okay. And this has to be like I'm expecting the sum to run with the 2 minus 5 comma minus 7 or minus 8 to be exactly minus 14. Let's suppose I'm saying minus 14. Okay, let's run this functionality again. I'll just say npm test and I will run this. You will say it is running two test cases and both of them are passing. But if I'm saying, let's write one more test case for you, I will write test on two zeros. When 20 is arriving, I will run this functionality. Let's fail this test case in some manner. I'm expecting expect sum to be 0, comma 0, or answer should be 1. What actually it is? I am saying a problem is I am passing 0, comma 0, and I'm expecting that answer should be 1. That means I'm expecting the wrong thing. But actually, if I run this particular functionality for you by passing 0, comma 0, if I pass 0, comma 0, what will be the output? As I am very sure the output will be 0. Because 0 and 0, if you add both 0, obviously output be going to be 0. But what I'm expecting over here कि कैसे भी करके अगर मैं 0 0 को जोड़ता हूं तो आंसर क्या हो जाना चाहिए? 1 हो जाना चाहिए. But the problem is आंसर 1 हो गई नहीं. इसका मतलब जो आप टेस्ट केस लिख रहे हो फेल हो जाएगा. But in this case, how we are going to know कि अगर ये फंक्शन चलेगा तभी मुझे पता लगेगा कि आंसर 0 आएगा, राइट, या आंसर 1 आएगा. तो अगर मैं इसको एक्सपेक्ट कर रहा हूं कि आंसर 0 आना चाहिए और कभी कभी यूजर का आउटपुट 1 आ गया तो मैं इसके लिए इसको टेस्ट कर लेता हूं कि क्या इन दिस केस में ये मेरा टेस्ट केस फेल हो रहा है या नहीं. तो डाल जैसे कि npm टेस्ट, लेट्स रन दिस अगेन, ओपन एन इंटीग्रेटेड टर्मिनल, आई विल से npm टेस्ट एंड यू विल बी नोटिसिंग एक टेस्ट केस फेल हो जाएगा. देखो अगर तुम ध्यान से देखोगे कि टेस्ट में एक फेल हो गया है, 2 पास हो गए हैं और 3 टोटल में टेस्ट केस थे. मतलब मैंने 3 टेस्ट केस लिखे थे और उसमें से 2 पास हुआ है, एक फेल हुआ है. क्यों? कौन सा फेल हुआ है? फेल हुआ है ये वाला ऑन 20. दैट मींस एडिशन ऑफ पॉजिटिव नंबर चल रहा है, ऑन नेगेटिव नंबर भी चल रहा है, लेकिन ऑन 20 वाला जो एप्लीकेशन और जो टेस्ट केस है वो फेल हो रहा है. ऐसा क्यों हो रहा है? सिंपल, क्योंकि एक्सपेक्टेशन क्या थी? 1 आना चाहिए, बट एक्चुअली उस फंक्शन ने रिटर्न क्या किया? 0 रिटर्न किया. क्योंकि एक्चुअली में मुझे पहले ही पता लग गया कि जो मैंने लिखा है वो फंक्शन थोड़ा सा गड़बड़ है, उसको ऐसा नहीं करना चाहिए. या मैंने लिख दिया कि इसको आंसर 0 आना चाहिए, कहीं धोखे में आंसर 1 आ रहा है. In this type of scenario, we need to be prepare yourself. In this case, let's suppose I am saying कि now answer should be 0 only. And obviously मेरा आंसर 0 ही आने वाला है. तो इन दिस केस में जब भी मैं इस पर्टिकुलर चीज को चलाऊंगा, यू विल से कि तीनों की तीनों टेस्ट केस आसानी से पास हो जाएंगे कि मैंने तीनों टेस्ट केस लिखे थे, तीनों पास हो गए ना. दिस इज नॉर्मल यूनिट टेस्टिंग. लेट्स सपोज इफ आई एम हैविंग कि कंपोनेंट किसको कहते हैं तुम्हारे अकॉर्डिंग? कभी तुमने रिएक्ट का कंपोनेंट देखा है? अगर तुम रिएक्ट के कंपोनेंट को ध्यान से देखो वो क्या होता है? एक फंक्शन ही तो होता है. अगर मैं तुमसे कहूं कि मेरे पास एक फंक्शन है एक्सपोर्ट डिफॉल्ट ऐप, ठीक है, एक फंक्शन है जो मेरे लिए क्या करता है? रिटर्न करता है. रिटर्न क्या करता है? रिटर्न करता है एक डिव. ओके, डिव में क्या रिटर्न करता है? एक h1. ओके, एक h1 रिटर्न करता है, उसमें लिखा है हेलो वर्ल्ड. सिंपल. अब मैं क्या कर रहा हूं? एक मैंने फंक्शन बनाया और फंक्शन में मैंने क्या कर दिया कि रिटर्न करा दिया एक सिंपल सा पर्टिकुलर फंक्शन जो कि मुझे क्या रिटर्न कर रहा है? मुझे रिटर्न कर रहा है कि अगर मैं इसको फंक्शन लिख दूं, पहले फंक्शन एक ऐप, मैंने क्या बना दिया? एक सिंपल सा कंपोनेंट बना दिया है. ये किसका कंपोनेंट है? अगर तुम ध्यान से देखो ये किस चीज का कंपोनेंट है? आंसर इज रिएक्ट, कि एक सिंपल रिएक्ट का कंपोनेंट है जो मैंने लिख रखा है. तो अगर मैं चाहूं इसके लिए टेस्ट केस भी तो लिख सकता हूं. जस्ट लाइक रिएक्ट क्या होता है? रिएक्ट एक फंक्शन ही तो है. यहाँ पे भी मैं क्या कर रहा हूँ? इस फंक्शन के लिए टेस्ट केस लिख रहा हूँ कि अगर जब भी मैं एक डिव हिट करूं या ऑन हिट करूं तो आंसर हेलो वर्ल्ड आना चाहिए, राइट. तो इस टाइप से हम अपनी किसी भी कंपोनेंट के किसी भी फंक्शनैलिटी की टेस्टिंग खुद ही कर सकते हैं बिफोर डंप्ड इनटू डिप्लॉयमेंट एनवायरनमेंट. ना प्रॉब्लम ये है. इतना समझ में आया? यूनिट टेस्टिंग समझ में आया? यस और नो? जस्ट गिव मी आइडिया, यस और नो, कि व्हाट एक्चुअली इज यूनिट टेस्टिंग और कैसे कर सकते हो तुम यूनिट टेस्टिंग. गिव मी एन आइडिया. लेट मी चेक द कमेंट. एक बार कमेंट देख लेता हूं. सर टर्मिनल आउटपुट इज नॉट प्रॉपरली विजिबल. ओके, टर्मिनल आउटपुट नहीं, हाँ समझ में आ रहा है. एक बार मैं नॉर्मली तुम्हें दिखा देता हूँ कि मैं अपना कैमरा थोड़ा सा हाइड कर देता हूँ. चेक करो. नाउ टेल मी if you are able to see. Let's run this particular functionality for you again कि मैंने एक बार टेस्ट दोनों लिख रखे हैं राइट। तो मैं क्या करता हूँ, एक बार वापस से इसको चलाता हूँ तुम्हारे लिए, और एक बार तुम देखोगे कि दोनों हमारे जो टेस्ट केसेस हैं वो जनरली क्या करें, टेस्ट सूट पास हो रहा है क्योंकि मैंने ये वाला कंपोनेंट लिख रखा है। अगर मैं इसको रिमूव कर दूं फॉर नाउ और मैं एक बार इसको ऑन कर देता हूं, तो यू कैन सी इफ आई रन दिस टेस्ट केस यू विल बी नोटिसिंग कि मेरे सारे के सारे टेस्ट केसेस पास हो रहे हैं, क्योंकि मैंने सम के लिए टेस्ट केस लिख रखे हैं कि जब भी मैं दो पॉजिटिव नंबर दूंगा तो आउटपुट इतना होना चाहिए, अगर दो नेगेटिव नंबर दूंगा तो आउटपुट इतना होना चाहिए, अगर मैं दो जीरो दूंगा तो आउटपुट इतना होना चाहिए। सो आई कैन, क्या मैं, अब ध्यान से बताना, क्या मैं कभी ऐप डॉट जेएस को रन कर रहा हूं? नहीं, आई एम नॉट रनिंग ऐप डॉट जेएस एक्चुअली। व्हाट आई एम रनिंग ऐप डॉट टेस्ट डॉट जेएस, कि भाई मैंने ऐप डॉट टेस्ट डॉट जेएस को रन किया है रादर देन रनिंग ऐप डॉट जेएस। यानी कि मैं कभी भी डायरेक्टली पूरी फाइल को रन नहीं कर रहा हूं, मैं बस एक्सपेक्ट कर रहा हूं कि भाई ये वाला जो टेस्ट केस है ये पहले चलेगा। जस्ट लाइक डीएसए प्रॉब्लम, यू गाइस हैव नोटिस्ड इन डीएसए प्रॉब्लम कि भाई जब भी तुम एक सॉल्यूशन लिखते हो तो तुम्हारा सॉल्यूशन डायरेक्टली सबमिट नहीं होता है। सबसे पहले उसका क्या होता है, उसके वो पहले वो कंपाइल किया जाता है, उस बिल्ड को टेस्ट किया जाता है, कंपाइल एंड रन, राइट। उस कंपाइल रन में एक्चुअली क्या होता है, कुछ टेस्ट केस लिखे होते हैं डीएसए में, और उस टेस्ट केस को हम लोग एग्जैक्टली ट्राई करते हैं रिप्लिकेट करने का। अगर वो चल जाता है तो हम कह देते हैं कि हाँ भाई आपका सॉल्यूशन करेक्ट है, अदरवाइज सॉल्यूशन इज रॉन्ग। नाउ प्रॉब्लम इज कि अगर मैं चाहूं कि मुझे एक दूसरा चीज लिखना है, जैसे हम लोग कहते हैं एक ऐसा टेस्ट केस लिखना है, एक ऐसा सिस्टम लिखना है जिससे मैं इंटीग्रेशन टेस्टिंग कर पाऊं। अब प्रॉब्लम इज कि जब तुम इंटीग्रेशन टेस्टिंग करने जाओगे तो तुम्हें समझना पड़ेगा कि इंटीग्रेशन टेस्टिंग का मतलब होता है कि कुछ चीजें जो इंटीग्रेट हो रही हैं साथ साथ में। तो एक काम करते हैं, मैंने एक सर्वर डॉट जेएस फाइल भी बना रखी है साथ में, एक काम कर लेते हैं, थोड़ा सर्वर बनाने का काम करते हैं। सर्वर कैसे बनाते हैं, इंपोर्ट कर लेते हैं, एक सिंपल सा राउट लिखने की कोशिश कर रहा हूँ, डू नॉट कनेक्ट इट टू फ्रंट एंड और बैक एंड, जस्ट सिंपल एक राउट लिख रहा हूँ फॉर यू, कि मैं एक्सप्रेस से एक बार सिंपल राउट लिख लेता हूँ, या सिंपली काम करते हैं, ऐप ले लेता हूँ एक्सप्रेस और एक राउट लिख देता हूँ ऐप डॉट गेट सिंपल, एक सिंपल राउट लिखा हुआ है मैंने, और यहाँ पे रिक्वेस्ट एंड रिस्पॉन्स जाएगा, और मुझे रिस्पॉन्स डॉट एंड सिंपली एक चीज चाहिए होगी, इसका नाम होगा हेलो वर्ल्ड। क्या चाहिए होगा, एक सिंपल सा रिक्वेस्ट रिस्पॉन्स डॉट एंड, रिक्वेस्ट डॉट एंड, ये मुझे चाहिए होगा सिंपली एक हेलो वर्ल्ड चाहिए होगा, राइट। अब मैं इस डायरेक्टली सर्वर को रन नहीं करूंगा, मैं इस ऐप में इस पर्टिकुलर सर्वर को लेके आऊंगा। अब यहाँ पे मैं इंपोर्ट करता हूँ, इंपोर्ट ऐप फ्रॉम सर्वर फाइल। भाई मैं सिंपली सर्वर फाइल से, सर्वर डॉट जेएस से एक फाइल इंपोर्ट करा लेता हूँ, ओके आ गया। अब इस ऐप को मैं लिसन कराऊंगा सिंपली यहीं कि मैं क्या करता हूँ, ऐप डॉट लिसन, ओके, और यहाँ पे मैं एक पोर्ट दे देता हूँ उसको 3000, और मैं सिंपली इस एक कॉल बैक फंक्शन फायर करूंगा जो कि मुझे कंसोल डॉट लॉग करके देगा कि सर्वर इज रनिंग, सिंपल, ठीक है। मैं सिंपली एक चीज कर देता हूँ कि सर्वर इज रनिंग। नाउ प्रॉब्लम इज कि अगर मैं ऐप डॉट जेएस को रन करूं फॉर यू गाइस, अगर मैं सिंपली ऐप डॉट जेएस को रन करूं तो आई से ऐप डॉट जेएस, यू विल बी एबल टू से कि सर्वर डॉट जेएस को डिफॉल्ट एक्सपोर्ट नहीं मिला, तो काम करते हैं सर्वर पे जाते हैं और एक्सपोर्ट कर देते हैं बाय डिफॉल्ट एक्सपोर्ट ऐप, यहां से बस सिंपल। अब यहाँ पे आके फिर से इसको रन कर देते हैं, एक बार देखते हैं कि ये चम काम कर रहा है कि नहीं। तो आई विल से कि मेरा सर्वर काम कर रहा है एक्चुअली, और इसको भी मैं एक काम करता हूँ, एक्सपोर्ट कर देता हूँ यहाँ से ताकि मैं उसको यूज कर पाऊं टेस्टिंग के दौरान। कि व्हाट एक्चुअली आई एम सेइंग गाइस, कि जब भी सर्वर स्टार्ट होगा, लिसन केयरफुली, कि जब भी मेरा सर्वर स्टार्ट होगा, व्हाट आई एम एक्सपेक्टिंग कि जब भी सिंपली मैं क्लिक करूं कहां पे, मैं सिलेक्ट करूं कि स्लैश होम पेज पे, इट शुड गिव मी व्हाट, इट शुड गिव मी हेलो वर्ल्ड, यस और नो, टेल मी what I'm expecting simple thing कि the moment I will start my application, it should trust or it should give me a hello world on the route that is slash, that is known as home page. It can be a simple API call from the you can say front end or back end or something like that. So whenever you want to integrate or you can want to test an integration कि server.js and app.js and these files should be integrated together to form a bundle, and they should give me whatever I want or whatever I'm expecting. So in this particular integration testing, what you can use, you can utilize super test as a library. So what I'll do, I'll just install supertest npm install supertest. And supertest gives you one thing that is known as request. Generally in APIs calling, whether it's in front end or back end, generally हमें क्या करना होता है, हमें एक रिक्वेस्ट लगानी होती है. सिंपल. रिक्वेस्ट कैसे लगानी होती है तो एक बार दिखाता हूँ कि whenever I want to do this, let's remove this for now or let's keep this. I'll just import request from supertest. I'll just import the request from supertest and I'll import the app from server itself. Yeah, I want to test you actually in app.test.js. Now I want to make a request on this particular route, this server on the route that is known as homepage, and I want to test whether this particular thing will return me hello world or not. Scenario is clear now? Yes or no, everyone? Scenario is clear. Whenever I'll be hitting on home page, I want to check whether this particular server is returning me hello world or not, or this component is returning me API call or not. So whenever you want to have this kind of scenario, super test come into picture. And super test give you one ability. And what actually this ability is, super test says, I will test or I will make a request from my side before you actually even deploy your application. That means before you directly test your application on production, what I can do, I can test your server, I can test your component within my range. So you will know before you even push your code into production, I will tell you whether this particular route that you have done in front end or back end is working or not. So in front end architecture or front end project structuring, testing plays a very crucial role. जब भी तुम कोई प्रोजेक्ट स्ट्रक्चर बना रहे हो कि मुझे फ्रंट एंड का प्रोजेक्ट स्ट्रक्चर बनाना है, किसी भी प्रोजेक्ट स्ट्रक्चर रेडी करना है, उसमें टेस्टिंग कंपोनेंट बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट होता है. चाहे वो जेस से हो रहा हो, चाहे वो तुम सुपर टेस्ट से हो रहा, चाहे वो कर्मा से या साइप्रस से, या तमाम ऐसी लाइब्रेरीज हैं जो आपको हेल्प करती हैं टू टेस्ट योर एप्लीकेशन विद इन द रेंज ऑफ यूनिट टेस्टिंग, इंटीग्रेशन टेस्टिंग, एंड टू एंड टेस्टिंग, और यू कैन से यूआई टेस्टिंग. इन दीज काइंड ऑफ सिनेरियो एक प्रॉपर मॉड्यूल बनाया जाता है टेस्टिंग का, कि जितना भी कंपोनेंट बन रहा है उसका एक टेस्टिंग मॉड्यूल भी होगा, राइट. इन दिस पर्टिकुलर सिनेरियो व्हाट वी एक्चुअली डू, मेरा टर्मिनल दिख रहा है अभी? चलो एक काम करते हैं, थोड़ा कैमरा ऑफ करता हूँ और तुम्हें पूरा टर्मिनल दिखाता हूँ कि जब भी मैं क्या करूंगा. अब मैं एक रिक्वेस्ट रेज करने की कोशिश करूंगा. व्हाट आई एम ट्राइंग टू राइट कि भाई व्हेनेवर समबडी विल, लेट्स टेस्ट व्हाट आई वांट टू टेस्ट on hitting on, I'll say on hitting on home page, yeah, home route of front end. What I am doing, I'm actually trying a function, but this request that I am making is going to be an asynchronous request. Why? Because there is a server that is involved, so I'll just wait for that particular thing that is going to be asynchronous. If this function is going to be asynchronous, then I'll do const result is equal to, we will wait. What I will do, I will make a request on this app. Simple. What I'll do, I'll make a request on this app, and in this app, I'll use a get route. And in this get route, the route will be home page. Simple. And the simple request is this. I'm creating a variable. Okay. And in this variable, I'm storing whatever the result is coming on making a request. And that request method that I'm utilizing is coming from supertest. So whenever you try to do you can say integration or integration testing, that is testing multiple component together, you have to make a request on this app with the same method that you are writing it. I'm just, let's suppose I'm writing hello world, or you can say get route. So I'm just saying get route on the home page. What I can expect, I can expect simple thing. Okay, I will expect result, not cookies. I will say result dot status 200 will be there. That means what I can say, the status of the result will be 200, and what actually the output will be, I can check. We expect I can expect. I can expect result dot text. What will be the text? To equal. To equal. Answer is hello world. Simple. The moment I hit on the route, that is a get route to the home page, I'm expecting the status should be 200, that is okay, and your result to the text should be hello world. Now what I'll do, I'll just run this application using npm test and look at my console. For now, I'll just say npm test, and you will notice it is running and it is saying on hitting the home route, what I'm using, I am testing it and the test case is being passed. But let's suppose if I'm just changing a test case a little bit, I'm saying capital W should be there, but actually it is returning me small w of world. Now let's try to test this and this test case will fail. Run it and test case will fail. What it is saying? Key expected output was hello world with a capital W, but actually I am receiving hello with a small w. That means even before I am running this server, I'm not even starting the server. Can you notice now? कि सर मैंने ये server start नहीं किया है. You're not saying sorry for it, said no issue. मैं कह रहा था अगर तुम ध्यान से देखोगे तो मैंने ये सर्वर चलाया नहीं है इस वाली जगह. मैंने कोई पोस्टमैन हिट नहीं किया है, मैंने कोई सर्वर नहीं चलाया. व्हाट आई डिड एक्चुअली, आई जस्ट रिटन अ टेस्ट केस कि जब भी एक एनवायरनमेंट क्रिएट किया मैंने कि जब भी कोई होम पे हिट करेगा, आई नीड टू शो देम दैट हेलो वर्ल्ड शुड बी देयर. तो it is being tested कि unless your everything is not matched properly, I will be failing this test case. So you will be knowing कि actually what goes wrong. Unless everything is matched, your test case will be passing. Now let's suppose you are having one more route. So let's create one more route on this. Let's create a folder of routes. Or let's create a auth route.js, and I'll just say import express from express. And don't worry about these things that I am doing. It's just for yours, you can say understanding how you can integrate it. I'll say const auth routes is equal to express dot router. Okay, and I'll just say auth route dot post. Let's write one more route, that is post route, and I'm saying slash users, and I'm making a request response dot user, and I can fire a request response dot status 201. Okay, dot JSON, and I can fire a JSON, and I'll say name is equal to request dot body dot name. Simple. I'll export this from here. Export default auth routes. Simple. And I will come to this app. Okay. And I can do like this server. I will say app dot use auth routes. Okay. I can directly use auth route, and I can have app dot use express dot JSON. Simple. That means I have written one more route, okay, to test it. Now come to this app dot. I can write one more test case for you, and then we'll be moving to project structure. Okay, let's suppose I'm writing test on hitting user creation on user route. Okay, user route I am providing, and what it will invoke, it will invoke a asynchronous function. Okay, what this function will do for me, it will hit a request on create. Let's suppose it is sending me like this. So let's try to test this. It will have request on slash users only, not create, just slash users, because I'm just creating this all users. Okay, and it is sending a name Rahul, not password and all. It is just sending a, let's suppose, name Vikas. Okay, result and name is Vikas, and no email and password has been sent. It can be sent from front end. Okay, my front end is sending a request, and I'm expecting the result status should be 201. Okay, let's suppose in auth route I'm hitting a 201. 201 should be there, and then I can expect one more result. Okay, result request.body.message will be user created, or I can say text will be request.body.name. Expect result dot text can be, it can be 2 equal and equal to be request dot body dot name. I'll just say 2 equal What I can say? Equal to because. Simple. The returning should be equal to because. Now let's try to expect 200 rather than 201. But as I know, whenever I'll be creating a user, the output will be 201. Let's look at the, you can say, terminal of mine. Okay. And as I run this npm test, you will be saying one is failing, one is passing. Why? It is saying ki, on hitting the home route, it is working. But the moment I'm hitting on user creation on user route, it is expected was 200, but it was receiving 201. That means this is how we can test your even components of front end. Let's suppose I'm just saying 201. Now let's run this again. Look, it is saying name because it is again failing. Receive was because, and it was expecting because actually. That means in auth route, whatever I am sending you in JSON format is wrong. I can directly send it rather than having a JSON. I can directly fire a send method, then it will pass, right? That means until you are not fulfilling all the criteria, whether you are writing a simple route or you are sending a data from front end to a back end, you have to make a test file to be ready in order to form a proper environment for good production. So that means testing is playing a very crucial role. And in this particular thing, testing is not something that you should be worrying about ki I will be testing it on front end or back end ki sir this is a front end class you are writing express or something like that. No, library is same, because when I did unit testing I tested on component as well. You can, because in React everything is a function, so I can write any function and I can test it. Okay, now let's try to understand that how actually your project need to be structured for testing and for better this. Let me create this project for you. Let me just start this and I'll create a project for you. And let's create a simple project key folder structure. I'll just say folder, and I'll create a project for you. Simple CLS. I'll open a folder, integrated terminal. I'll just create a npm create wait at the rate latest, and I'll just hit simple dot folder and I'll be able to draw. I'll use React, I'll use JavaScript, I'll use ESLint and install. Everything will be installed for me. Now your folder structure can be a little bit tricky for you, and it can be divided into multiple formats. If you want to make your, you can say, folder structure based on the functionality, you can do it. If you want to make your functionality or make your component or structure as compared to component based, you can also make component based structure. So I'll show you both type of structure that you can make. So then you can decide which is better for your purpose. I'll go on folder in source. Let's remove this app.css for now. Remove this app.js. I don't require it. I'll just use a simple React functionality. That's it. Remove this index.css for now. You need just want to reset your application before you start anything new. Now what I can use, actually, let me show you component based structure first. Whenever you want to have a component based structure, so what do you do in src? You can create a component folder directly, component folder. Okay, and in component you can have multiple things. Like let's suppose you are having a button component, you can have a card component, you can have a DP component, right? And then after having component, you can also create pages. Okay, key home page, login page, you can create pages. You can create some screens as well. Okay, let's suppose I'm creating some screens. Okay, I want to have admin screen and those kind of screens. So you can divide that into component. And let's suppose you want to write some hooks as well, because when I was discussing front end, I was also telling you that how to write hooks in actual manner. You can write hooks as well. So you can create your hooks from here, and you can write every logic into here rather than utilizing every other functionality or every you can say logic into the component itself. So component will be less chaotic for you, and you can directly use that. And after that, you can have some of the services, like you want to have a user service. you can say email services like that, or you can create services folder as well. Okay, this is known as component based structure. But whenever you want to have a feature based structure, so how you can create a feature based structure? Let me give you feature based. I'll delete this component, and you can delete this hook, pages, service, and this as well. That delete this. Let's suppose I'm going to create a simple source. I want to create feature based components. So I'll just give a folder name features. And in this feature, I will be creating, let's suppose I want to create a social media. The first feature will be post. So I'll just create post. This is the first feature that I want to have. And inside that post, I can have one more folder that is known as component. That means inside post, I can have components, right? And you can say in a post folder, you can also have one more feature that is known as hooks. You can also have one folder that is known as auth. Okay, you can also have one more, not in hooks, let's delete this. In post, you can have one more folder that is known as hooks. It was auth. Auth is done, component is done, let's suppose this is auth. And in post, I can have one more folder. Let's suppose I want to have some shared logic or hooks, so I can have a shared logic. I can have shared logic. That means this is how actually you can derive your feature based structure. Let's suppose you want to have one more feature. Let's suppose feature is uploads. In upload, you can have one few more folder like hooks. Okay, and in upload you can have shared logic as well. That means that is called microservices based. Like every component or every feature will have their own structure. So this will be running on separate thing, this will be running on separate thing. That is known as feature based component. And you can also have one more kind of folder structure that is known as domain driven structure. In domain, you can have multiple domains, like you can have post, you can have UI. Those kind of domain specific folder structure can be also there, right? And whenever you are trying to make a component based structure, you need to be very sure that you need to pick either of them. Simple. You don't have to pick everyone, or you can say mixed structure. That is known as smart and dumb component. Do you know what is smart and dumb component? Anyone? Whenever you are trying to make a component based structure, are you aware about smart and dumb component? Anyone? Sir, we should be wanted to create the specific folder all feature and React SRC folder. Yes, if you were driving your application based on feature based programming, then obviously your every feature should be different, or you can say at different locations, so multiple developers can collaborate within that, right? No, sir. Okay, that means you have not heard about smart and dumb component. Let me show you smart and dumb component directly by giving you component. Let's suppose I'm having a component, let's suppose simple component that is using a simple React query. So what I can do, I can directly say, there is a React query that I want to have. Simple, I'll just say function, I'll just use const. You know how to actually use query. I'll say data, and let's suppose I want to have a data of post, and I will have is loading for, you can say skeleton, or you can say I will use query, use query, and I will be passing a simple object query key. Query key simple, I'll just use query key will be post. Okay, and simple, I can have query function. Query function will be a simple asynchronous function that I want to use. Let's suppose I'm saying post services, post service, okay, dot get, or simple. Let's suppose this is a functionality that I want to work with. Obviously, I have not installed it, so it is not going to say this is going to post define. And after that, I can return if there is a is loading. I can show a few more things, that is return. I can return loading, please wait. Okay. Otherwise, I can return You can say post. Simple. I can directly say a post component can be there, post component, and I'll pass post as a, you can say, simple. And because I don't have any post, so that's why a post is undefined. But this is known as smart component. A smart component will be doing their own fetching of the data. They will not rely on anyone to fetch the data. That is not a smart you can component. A smart component owns their own data, and they will be passing the plain data after top fetching it. But if I'm saying if there is a component that is dumb component, what is dumb component actually? If I'm saying what actually dumb component, let me write the one dumb component actually for you. I'll just say const app is equal to what actually dumb component is. Dumb component does not have their own shared logic. They will receive the post. Let's suppose I'm saying I'm receiving the post, and then I'm going to return it. Simple. I'm going to return it. Let's suppose I'm creating a UL. Inside that, I'll create a li, and I'll post or I'll map that particular post. That means whenever a dumb component is there, it will have no idea from where this post is coming. The only thing that is smart enough to know that I have to render it. Whenever this type of thing happens, you need to be making sure that your component behave like a smart component, not a dumb component. A smart component do have the idea from where I need to fetch data and where I need to send the data. But your dumb component is just receiving the data from anywhere and everywhere. It doesn't have any idea that from where this post is coming from. Just it has one responsibility defined that it has to render that component. That's it. Right. Sir, how should I exactly learn this topic in React? Did learning React with byte noise useful? And you will be knowing because this is a part of front-end system design, not actually the React part. Okay, but you should be having a best practices knowing what actually is those terms that you can utilize. But this motive of the series is pretty much simple. Yeah, I want you to realize that there is something that is not good while you are doing code. Everything what people do now, people do you can say chase after one thing that is known as code. Okay. Generally what people do, let me just share this screen and we'll okay. What I was saying, what generally people do actually, they chase code. If I know syntax, I will be able to write React, I will be able to write front end, back end. But the problem is all thing, or does it matter how fast, how efficient, or how clean your code is until as the structure you are not aware of, you are not knowing what type of component you need to have. Can you tell me, do you know the difference between a smart and dumb component before? Which type of component we should prefer in our project structure? Should I go with the smart component? Should I go with dumb component? Should I go with feature based structure? Should I go with shared logic? Should I go with the hook layering? Because what people do, they are calling use state, use effect, use fetch, reducer, each and everything in the component itself. They don't have any idea that they can create a hook folder, they can have a layering of hook. So that's what the motive of this series was. As this is the last class of this series, we have completed the series very successfully, that we discuss 10 important, you can say, concept or 10 important topics around front-end engineering, including JavaScript, you can say system design of front-end, micro front-end architecture, performance optimization. So we did a lot of deep study about React front-end system design and React boot camp. That's why this you can say session that I launched, or the YouTube series I launched, was named as front-end engineering. Rather than I was not building anything for you. I was not planning to make you e-commerce project or something like that. My motive is pretty much simple, that whatever are the best practices that are there in the industry has to be you can say given to you as a guidance, because you are coming in the industry, no matter how far you can say or how long you are waiting, after 1 year, 2 years, 6 months, 2 months, or as an intern you will be coming to industry, you can say then you will be writing code, and you will be writing code alongside with us, and then you will be feeling okay, there is a difference between your style of coding and my style of coding. And my, you can say, motive was simple. I want you to understand that there is no you can say problem with your coding technique, because you have not been shown this particular methodology prior. You can also write this type of code, because whatever you are watching as a tutorial, you are just writing code, right? You are just gulping syntax, you are remembering syntax, you are writing, you are, you can say, putting all of our effort just to remember the syntax of use state, use callback, use memo. That's what you can do. But talking about structure designing, talking about lazy loading, skeleton, UI, you can say module federation, API calling, 10 stack query, just and recall, these are the topic that we discussed. These are too advanced for you guys as a beginner level. You don't have to worry about this, you don't even worry about it कि देखेंगे बाद में कि पहले कोड लिखना तो सीख जाए. द प्रॉब्लम इज कि कोड लिखना सीखना इज नॉट समथिंग दैट इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट. वो हर किसी को आता है. आजकल के टाइम में कोई भी लिख सकता है कोड, क्योंकि इस टाइप के इतने एआई टूल्स आ चुके हैं, चैट जीपीटी है, क्लाउड है, वो कोड आपके लिए लिख देगा. बट कौन सा स्ट्रक्चर फॉलो करना है कोड लिखते टाइम, क्या मेथडोलॉजी रखनी है कोड लिखते टाइम, यही इस सीरीज का प्रॉपर मोटिव था. Yeah, that was sole motive of this particular series, ki how project should be designed from scratch to advance, your state management to your, let's suppose, hook management, how to design custom hook, how to design APIs, right? How to connect APIs. Those kind of thing we discuss in this series. So I hope in this video or in this series, or especially in this live session, you were able to understand that how actual project should be designed with writing a test module. Why I have included test cases, or you can say testing in this. There was no plan of mine to include testing in this, you can say, live session. I was just planning to, I will go with project structure and we'll be good to go for this, you can say, series. But what I thought, why not give it a, you can say, try for testing as well, because whenever people are writing component, they don't know how to test them. They rely on QA or something like that, and when somebody asks them, can you test, do you know any library to include that in testing environment, they say कि I don't know, मैंने सिर्फ तो कोड लिखना सीखा था, मुझे बस रिएक्ट आता है, टेस्टिंग आता नहीं है. लेकिन जबकि जावास्क्रिप्ट का इंटीग्रेशन और यू कैन से इंटीग्रल पार्ट है आपका टेस्टिंग. किसी भी कंपोनेंट, किसी भी टेक स्टैक में जब भी आप काम करने जाते हैं, आपको उसका इन एंड आउट पता होना चाहिए, स्पेशली इन टेस्टिंग एनवायरनमेंट. So that's why I included testing into this, because in training or in my day-to-day life as well, we do use testing too much. तो ये बहुत ज्यादा कुछ हार्ड नहीं होता है. ऑब्वियसली कुछ लाइब्रेरी लाइक साइप्रस और कर्मा थोड़ा सा कॉन्फ़िगरेशन वाइज हार्ड होती हैं, बट तुम्हारे लेवल पे जब भी आप रिएक्ट कंपोनेंट टेस्ट कर रहे हो, या कोई सर्वर टेस्ट कर रहे हो, या कोई फंक्शन टेस्ट कर रहे हो एक्चुअली, तो बहुत ज्यादा मुश्किल होता नहीं. इट्स सिंपल, जस्ट एंड सुपर टेस्ट विल बी इनफ फॉर डूइंग यूनिट टेस्टिंग एंड सुपर इंटीग्रेशन टेस्टिंग. ओके, so अगर कोई क्वेश्चन, if you are having any question or any query, you can ask me before we wrap up this series. Okay, it was a fun series, to be, you can say, very honest. I never thought this series will be loved by so many people. I am getting multiple, you can say, message on LinkedIn and email itself. कि अच्छा series है sir, we are learning few things. That's why I was not stopping myself कि बस ठीक है basic cover कर देते हैं काम हो जाएगा. नहीं, I post myself to testing, front end system design, architectural, you can say, pattern as well, some principle, best practices that you should be knowing before you start with series of front end or React. Okay, so अगर कोई question, if you're having any queries for me, you can let me know. Otherwise we can wrap up the session. Let me check comment. Thank you, sir, for this lovely session. Glad I can help, Parth. So thank you for your patience as well, that you guys were eager enough to learn those things, and you were continuously joining the session. And even after that, I will be coming up with few more series. I'm planning for generative AI as well, that I might be coming with generative AI with JavaScript, that I might be teaching you how to use generative AI with JavaScript, RAG implementation, those kind of thing as well. Okay. Any other questions if you guys are having? Otherwise, we can wrap up the session. I want to ask mounting and unmounting in React. Okay, mounting and unmounting is, to be very honest, just part of component lifecycle. Okay, so let me just give you idea. Whenever any component you try to design, right, there are four life cycle that happen. There are four phases of the component. First one is called ideation phase. That is known as, you can say, ideation phase or creation phase. Second part is when you mount that. That is when you try to upload that onto UI or front, and that is known as mounting. The component is coming onto the screen, and after that third phase is called updating. Okay, and this updation is known as, you can say, you can updating using use effect hook, or you can say some other hooks using use state as well. And after a component is updated, the next phase is called unmounting. It's just like a normal life cycle of a human, from conceiving a baby to, or you can say, baby coming in the world, then it is being grown up as an adult, then he or she is dying. There's a proper life cycle of a component. The phase is known as creation phase, mounting phase, updation phase, and deletion or unmounting phase. That is known as component life cycle. These concepts asked, yes, and these are the concepts that will be asked in the interview. Nobody's asking to design me a, or you can say write me a user state syntax. They know syntax is not something that they are looking for. They are looking for a concept that will drive the project, that will drive the, you can say, concept around the project or around the problem statement. Okay. New series when? I'm not sure about that, but I will be letting you know on my LinkedIn, or you can say my Twitter, or GFG will be letting you know for my next series, that when the next series will be coming. Okay, but I'll try to come up with the series that will help you to think. I'm who is eager to learn backend, so I'm just planning that I can go with backend as well, and system design for backend with AI as well. We can do this. Thank you so much, sir, for this great session. Thank you, Kangsha. How to structurally build the project, bro? How to structurally? It depends. Obviously, depend on functionality, that how much you are willing to trade off. Simple. Let's suppose if I'm trying to build a service, you need to make sure to understand the requirement first. Then on the basis of requirement, you will be deciding whether I want to have a mono-repo architecture, that is a simple monolith system, that is a single folder will be containing all the functionality over here. Then if the functionality is getting bigger day by day, I can go with some other, you can say, architecture, that's like distributed system, polyrepo architecture, right? So that's totally depend on the requirement and the use case of the product. I was learning backend Django, REST API was useful. Yes, you are Python full stack talking about, perfectly fine. But I was not talking about a React specific. We are talking about system design of front end. So each and every concept that we have taught or we have discussed will still be applied on your REST API or your Django framework. Everything is same. The implementation syntax will change, nothing else. Django is a very good framework to go with Fast API. You can also try Fast API. Okay, if you are in Python full stack, you can go with Flask and Fast API combination. You will be very good in the industry. It's a trending one. People are learning Fast API, Django, and Flask combination. You can try, give it a shot. I was also working with that Flask and Fast API few months back. If you're good at very, you can say Python and Python, you will be very good too. Any other questions? You let me know. Okay, thank you. It was very useful. I will update. Yes, because Fast API is something that currently it is trending. I'm not saying a REST API you should not. REST API is the basic architecture that everyone should know, or any API architecture you should know. But keep updating yourself with Fast API as well. because these are the very, you can say, efficient API architecture that is coming right now. Okay, and Django Flask will be a good combination. You can learn that you will become a Python full stack. There's a very trendy and demanding architecture and framework right now, alongside with Mern and, you can say, Postgres. Even in the Mern stack, apart from MongoDB, I generally suggest a student after learning MongoDB, you can go with Postgres as well. That means PERN, not especially MERN. You should be ERN is good, but you can replace MongoDB with Postgres. Majority of the company do ask Postgres as a primary database. Okay, guys. So with that, I'll take a leave. Okay, so thank you guys for joining this series with me in order to understand front-end engineering. I'll be coming up, I'll be informing about next series, when will be coming next series, whether it will be in recorded format or live. Okay, I will inform you on my LinkedIn and those platforms. You'll be getting to know that when actually we are starting with, but I'll try to come up with new architectural, because not on code basis, I will be coming with system design basic, because I will be coming with architectural behavior of an application, not code wise. I don't love that much of coding pattern. So there are tons of videos that is there on how to write code, and there are, you can say, minimal you can say resources that is available for a student just to understand how application works behind the scene. Okay, your LinkedIn ID. Let me just drop a LinkedIn ID. Let me just give you just one moment. Mhm. You can search me on, you can say, simple internet. I'll be there. You can ask Vikas Kumar Gigs for Gigs. You can type and you will be able to find me. Let me just paste this link for you. You will be able to find me. Okay. Okay, Vinod. I pasted the link. You guys can connect. I'll inform on that LinkedIn that we are starting with new series. Okay. Whatever the series, it will be based on behind the scene working, not actual coding. That's not what I love the most. I just love to get you the understanding how things works behind the scene, under the hood. Okay. So you got this LinkedIn, Vinod? Confirm me. So we can end up the session. Okay. So I'll take a leave from you guys until unless we are coming with new series. So till then, you take care and have fun. And you can say, do not forget to revise. If you want to revisit this lecture, you can find those lecture into the live section on GFG. You will find the recording of all the series. What I'll do, I'll just combine those video in a playlist named as Front End System Design, Front End Engineering. You can be able to find on Geeks for Geeks YouTube channel. Okay. So I'll see you in the next series. Till then, you take care and bye bye.